Hello and welcome to this tutorial on web automation. We'll be using Selenium for standalone server and Java will be our language. This video will be for complete beginners and we will go step by step on how to set up, what we need to get started, and how to write our first automation script. So what do we need to get started? We obviously need IntelliJ or Eclipse or any IDE of your choice. We need Selenium for standalone server. We don't really need JUnit as most of the IDE comes in with JUnit support. We need driver, which acts as proxy for our test automation script to communicate with the browser and vice versa. For Chrome, we need Chrome driver.exe, and for Firefox, we need gecko-driver.exe. So this is the website where you can download Selenium 4. Here you can see latest Selenium 4 alpha version. For JUnit, if you want to download it, here's the latest release. I'll post all the links in the description below. For Chrome driver, based on your Chrome version, make sure you download the driver. And for Gecko, based on your configuration, whether you're using Windows machine or Linux machine, make sure you download the driver for Firefox. So in this video, we'll create a new project. We'll use youtube.com. We'll use its search bar and then send some parameters, some text, and we'll click on search button. We'll first use Firefox and we'll repeat the same thing for using Chrome, and I'll leave Internet Explorer so that y'all can follow the same thing and then repeat the process. So I'll be using IntelliJ. So once you're on this screen, click on File, do New project, new Java project. I have Selenium. I have JDK 14 installed in my machine, so that's the reason why you're saying 14. You might see 8 or 12 or 10 based on your JDK. Just don't worry about it. You don't need all that. So on the previous screen, just press next, and here press next. So project name, I'll name it as web automation tutorial. Click finish. Open a new window. So here, this is the project structure. We have our project name. We have the source code here. So inside src, which is the source code, right click on it, press new. You can just do Java class. I like to do package first. Make sure I keep everything organized. I name it as first tutorial, and inside first tutorial, right click on it, create a new Java class. I name it as first lesson. Alright, so we have our class, we have package, we have our class. I create empty method, perform. So there you go. Now we have class, we have method. So like I said, we'll be using JUnit, and JUnit has annotations. We're not gonna talk about any other annotations. We'll just focus on add test method. There are at before, at after, at before class, at after class, all these annotations, but we'll just focus on add test. So what this add test does is it tells JUnit to run whatever method is attached to the add test annotation. Think of this as main method. So we have main method in Java. Think of this as the main method in JUnit. So as you all can see, it's throwing error. So it clearly says add JUnit 4 to the class path. Just do that. You'll download it from Maven repository. Click OK, and it imported. Add this. So next thing, what we need is we need drivers so that our automation script can communicate with the browser, right? So we will set up path for our drivers, right? So for that we need to do system.setProperty, and it has key and value. Since we'll be doing it for both, I'll just copy this. It'll be WebDriver dot gecko dot driver for Firefox, and WebDriver dot Chrome dot driver for Chrome. Alright, so this is the key. Now we need to set the value. So this will be the path where you have downloaded your drivers. So for me, it's on a driver. So I'll copy this location, paste it here, same thing here, and then my gecko driver.exe /chrome driver.exe. Right, so make sure you guys put in your path to your wherever you have downloaded it. So next thing, we need to instantiate WebDriver. This opens up a browser. So now we've set in the path. Now we need to open, we want our code to open up a browser, right? To perform anything, like we need to first open up a browser. So what we can do is we can do WebDriver. Don't worry about the error right now. We'll solve it definitely. New Chrome driver. Alright, so it's throwing error because it does not know where to go and find it, right? So when I do alt enter, it'll say, hey, create a class, because it really does not know like where it is, what's WebDriver and what's Chrome driver. So we need Selenium 4 because it has all these WebDrivers and Chrome drivers in it, right? So what we want to do is we want to go to File, Project Structure, and Libraries, Add Java, and wherever you have downloaded your Selenium 4, make sure you go there. So for me, it's under my downloads, and here I have my Selenium Server 4. Click OK. Say, hey, will be added to selected module. Click OK, apply, and OK. Now if you come back here, you'll say, hey, import class. So you do that, it imports WebDriver. Do the same thing for Chrome driver, imports it. So if I run it here, it'll just open up a browser. It does nothing, just open up a browser. It says one test passed, opened up a browser. Chrome browser is being controlled by automated test software. There you go. So what happens if I remove the system settings? It'll throw me an error because it does not know where to go and look for the drivers, right? So you'll just throw an error. here I've commented Chrome driver and we're using Chrome, so yeah, the path to the driver executable must be set by webdriver.chrome.driver, right? System property. So we need this. All right, so next thing is, so now we've opened up a browser. Now we have opened up a browser. Now next thing would be, we need to pass in the URL, which is youtube.com, right? So we do driver.get is the function, and we do https://youtube.com. Close it. Here. Now if I run it, it'll open up a browser and it will launch youtube.com. That's it. Your test will say, hey, it passed. And here it opened up youtube.com, right? So now our next goal is to pass in some parameter in our search button. So before doing that, we need to know what its ID or XPath. So how do we recognize this, or how do the code recognize this particular element in this HTML, right? So you do inspect. So if you hover over it, it'll show where you're going. So here is the input ID for search. This is the element that recognizes this search button, right? I mean search bar. So take this. Now we will send in some text parameter. So what we do is driver.find element. First we need to find that element, particular element, by that XPath. You can use ID and then put in the name, but I prefer doing XPath. So after you do XPath, you make sure you do / and make sure you type in the tag name, close it. Always, once you open anything in any language, like, make sure you close it so that you don't make an error. So inside that, I need to put in my attribute, which is ID, and name for that attribute dot, since we're sending some parameter, we use send keys function. So we'll do web automation tutorial, right? So I'll put in comments so that you guys understand it. Since we are sending text in the search bar, we use send keys function, right? So what happens if I run it? It'll open up a browser, it'll go to youtube.com, and it'll put in the web automation tutorial in its search bar, right? Okay, so now next goal is to hit the search button, right? So right click on it, repeat the same thing. Right click on it. Yeah, so it's button ID and search icon legacy. So if you hover, it should tell you exactly here. Okay, so now we've already passed in the key, right? So now next thing we need to do is we need to click on we need to click on search button. So now you already know we don't use send keys, we use .click method, right? So what we do is driver dot find element. We find that element by xpath / tag name was button and our attribute was ID, and this dot click, right? So we run it. It opened up a browser, puts in youtube.com, goes to search bar, web automation tutorial, and here you go. That's the result for test automation. So as a recap, so first we created a project, we created a class, we created empty method first, we added annotation letting JUnit know, hey, this is the method that you're supposed to run as a test case. Then we set up path for the path for Chrome driver, set up properties for Chrome driver path. Then we opened up, we instantiated WebDriver and which opens up a new browser, right? So once we open the browser, driver.get youtube.com will get the URL. Then we went there, we're telling driver, hey driver, find this element search which has tag input and ID search, and then send keys like send in the web automation tutorial as the parameter, right? So once that's done, we're saying, hey driver, find element by tag name or by element which has tag name button and attribute ID as source icon legacy, and then click on it. So there you go, that's your first automation script. Alright, so like I said earlier, let's replicate the same thing. Let's do the setup for using Eclipse. Here we can do file, new, Java project, or we can simply click on here. So project name would be web automation. We'll do finish. We don't need to create that. Same thing. Inside source, we'll do new. We'll do package. We'll do first lesson. Inside first lesson package, we'll do new. We'll do first tutorial class. Right, inside this, we'll do public void perform empty method. Right, we'll add the annotation add test. So as soon as you add that, you'll throw an error. You'll say, hey, add JUnit library to the build path. Do that. I believe I have not copied it, so let me copy the code. I'll just copy and paste the whole thing. Here, you'll throw me a bunch of errors. You'll throw WebDriver because that's right. Obviously, we have not put in the Selenium 4 on our build path. So right click on web automation, build path. You can use this as source folder. You can do is build path add external archives, do Selenium 4. Make sure you go to your wherever you have downloaded your Selenium 4. Open. Here you go. On the reference library, you'll see that. Now the code knows where to go and look for the WebDriver. So as soon as you set up the build path and hover over the error, you'll say, hey, import WebDriver. As soon as you do that, do the same thing for Chrome, do the same thing for Pi. There you go. Right click on it. Run it as JUnit. Okay. Open up your browser, put in youtube.com, web automation tutorial, search. There you go. Says one thing is passed. Okay, so I think I missed running it on Firefox. So to run it on Firefox, instead of this Chrome driver, do Firefox driver. That's the only change, because we've already set in the properties. So this is the property for our Firefox driver. So all we need to do is, while instantiating, we need to do WebDriver driver equals to new Firefox driver instead of new Chrome driver. Run it. Okay. youtube.com. There you go. I hope you all will be able to replicate the same thing and use different websites and try to write your own script. I hope you guys liked my video. Please like it if you liked it, share it, comment it, subscribe it, hit the notification bell, and thank you for watching. Thanks a lot.